But Marx is not just interested in any labor. He is interested in social labor, labor that is part of this mode of production, labor that goes into the makeup of a society. Useless labor, like the labor of a mud pie maker, is not social labor. The first step, then, in looking at a particular historical mode of production, is to ask how the private labor of an individual becomes social labor in that society. If you were a medieval peasant working a plot of land with your family, you would be laboring directly for your own use. There would be no mystery about whether the labor you were doing had use to your social group, or whether the right amount of labor was being allocated to the right tasks. The private labor you did on your land would be directly social. In a capitalist society, we don't produce things in order to use them ourselves. We produce things in order to exchange them in the market. We don't care about the usefulness of the things we are producing. We only care about receiving money in exchange for our labor. We then use that money to enter the market and buy the things we need for our own personal use. The production of a commodity and the use of it are separated in space and time. They are separated by value. They are linked by value. In order for our private labors to become social, they must first take the form of value. This is a very different type of social labor than in pre-capitalist societies. Rather than being directly social, capitalist labor is indirectly social. People don't directly decide what to produce. Instead, these decisions are made through the fluctuations of market signals, a constant back and forth of buyers and sellers. But these market signals aren't some autonomous power. They're composed of the aggregate individual labors of millions of separated producers. This separation of production and consumption means that our labor has both an individual value and a social value. The individual value is the amount of work that actually goes into making something. The social value is the actual amount of value the commodity sells for when it enters the market. Because producers are separated from each other by the market, because we have no collective control over production, we have no way of knowing for sure how much labor time society requires of us and what sort of labor it should be. We don't know what the demand will be for our product. We don't know how much of the product other producers are making. We have to guess these things. We only find out once the products of our labor meet the products of everyone else's labor in the market. This means that the individual value, the amount of time an individual puts into making a commodity, and the social value, the amount of time society requires go into it, can differ. If individual value and social value diverge, what does this mean? Unlike other forms of production, in which we labor directly for use, in a capitalist society, we labor to produce value. Yet society must still use the products of our labor. We can't all make the same thing or all make useless things. Labor must be apportioned between the right tasks in the right proportions. Value is the mechanism that does this, since value is the only connection between individual laborers. Marx sought to explain how value acted as a force for the regulation of individual labor, turning individual labor into social labor. The fact that we discover the social value of our individual labor in the market creates the illusion that it is the market itself which is creating value. We bring the objects of our labor to the market, and there they are turned into money, making it seem like the subjective decisions between buyers and sellers are what create these money prices. This is what is being insinuated by the mud pie argument, that it is the subjective valuation of the usefulness of a commodity that determines its value, not the labor that goes into it. Yet this is an illusion, a fetish created by the fact that our labor is indirectly social.